We all love the originals and the Vampire Diaries, and everyone loves a good fight scene. However, as many have carefully observed over the years, both of these shows can have fight scenes that are a little bit inconsistent with the lore, a little bit hard to swallow, a little bit complete and utter bullshit, particularly as it pertains to vampire strength, speed, established skill, basic logic, stuff like that. If you were just as blood-steamingly annoyed at this as I was, you're in luck, because I, being the martyr that I am, have taken it upon myself to rewrite some of these scenes in the lovely series of videos, of which this is the first. In this series, I will endeavor to rewrite these scenes not only in such a way that they become logically plausible and consistent with the lore, but also that still retains the same outcomes and achieves the same goals as the writers had in mind with the original scene. Okay, long preamble over, you all want to know which scene is first on the chopping block. It is the one, the only, the truly infuriatingly perplexing Kol vs. Damon in Dangerous Liaisons. In Season 2 of the Vampire Diaries, the writers introduced the Originals, a gang of super badass ultra vampires. Now, while these new characters were great villains and absolutely awesome, they also ended up being victims of their own awesome sauce. In Season 3, it became increasingly clear that the Originals were way too overpowered for the setting they were in. The writer's solution was naturally to come up with creative solutions to allow our characters to outsmart them through ingenuity and I'm just pulling your leg. They just started handicapping the Originals by pretending they were much, much weaker than established to be. As a result, the worst of the atrocious crimes against logical writing in all of the Vampire Diaries were against members of the original family. One of the biggest victims of the above-mentioned trend is Kol Mikaelson. He's often been, to put it kindly, defeated by younger vampires or others far below his own level of strength and skill, at least as far as the lore goes. And to put it less kindly, he got curb stomped by Damon like a little bitch. I am, of course, referring to the scene in the 14th episode of Season 3 of the Vampire Diaries, where he fights the blue-eyed wunderkind that is Damon Salvatore and loses spectacularly by getting his neck snapped. Which also happens to be the first real fight scene Kol ever had. Yeah, what a way for this new character to really blow our socks off, writers. Before we actually rewrite the scene, though, let's take a short look at the original scene and what it was trying to accomplish. Okay, so what happened? Kol starts to break Matt's hand while standing on a balcony. Damon sees this, makes a snarky comment, as he is wont to do, and charges at the original. As a result, Kol is flung off the building. Damon jumps after him, slaps aside Kol's feeble resistance, and then snaps Kol's neck. Afterwards, Damon proceeds to stroll away unharmed, despite being in full view of the other members of the original family, including the very temperamental Klaus. So what's the point of this scene from a writing point of view? Well, Damon had just been rejected by Elena, and so, Damon being Damon, that means he had to engage in reckless behavior and snapping some necks. Sadly, no Jeremys were close at hand, so the writers figured Kol was the next best thing. On top of that, Damon had to cause trouble in such a way that it is a wrinkle in Elena's peace talks with Esther, and pisses his dear lady and the originals off. Okay, now that we know all that, it's time to rewrite the scene to our heart's content. Let's turn this atrocious frog of a scene into a beautiful prince. So, what should have happened? Kol starts to break Matt's hand while standing on the balcony. Damon sees this. He makes his snarky little comment and then charges at the original. Kol, of course, being an original, simply backhands him onto the floor. Damon, having had quite a bit of bourbon, isn't deterred by this. He gets up and charges at him again, at which point Kol easily swats his hand aside and then lifts him up by the neck like a little toy. Stefan, who's been looking for Damon, hears the noise and comes upon the scene. We see a shot of him in the doorway right before he belts one of his classic panicked Damon lines. We then see him gallantly charging in. A cut is made. When we come back, both Stefan and Damon are thrown into the main hall of the building like ragdolls. They land on the various expensive tables with food, which shatter and spill their food all over the floor. Kol then charges at them and prepares to kill one or both of them. However, since they are now in full view of everybody, Elijah and Finn, being the two originals that wish to follow Esther's rules, restrain their brother. "What is wrong with you?" asks Elijah to Kol. While Kol is being restrained by Elijah and Finn, Damon, being a spiteful son of a bitch, gets up and grabs one of the table's legs, one of the ones that was flung onto and broke. He charges at Kol and stabs him right through the heart, thus desiccating him. Elijah and Finn look down at their brother and back at Damon, clearly angry. Damon starts backing away towards his brother as he looks around. He sees Rebecca to his right, Klaus to his left. The originals prepare to tear Damon's head off, and we see close-ups of Damon and Stefan. "You take the two supernatural killing machines on the right, I'll take the two on the left," says Damon. There is a tense standoff for a few seconds. Suddenly, we hear a voice. "Enough!" shouts Esther. We see Esther and Elena walk onto the scene from down the stairs. Esther angrily tells Damon and Stefan to leave the party. She looks at her children for a moment, judgingly, as she is wont to do, saying, "No harm will come to either of you if you leave right now. I promise." Damon makes a hateful comment as he leaves. Stefan simply nods, apologizes, and leaves as well. Elena is left gawking down from the stairs at Damon and Stefan, stunned and angry at what they've done. This version of the scene seems longer. As far as text goes, it's certainly longer. But in actual screen time, it really would have only been a few seconds, definitely less than a minute, longer than what we actually saw. More things just happen at once. What do you get for this extra 30 or so seconds? A scene that retains the original purpose of the scene, to show Damon acting recklessly and breaking up the party with Elena being left upset, while at the same time staying true to the lore and respecting the power of an original vampire like Kol Mikaelson. All sprinkled with just a little bit of tension. And isn't that a trade you take in an instant? If you want to be kept up to date on our videos, subscribe to our YouTube channel, or follow us on Twitter or Facebook or Medium for the written articles. Don't forget to like the video, bitches!